Okay. That was 1946.
Last month, most or all of us chose random parts of a story out of these 5 bags up here. And we have short stories to listen to today. But is there somebody here who didn't get an opportunity and wants to participate? What it is you take just elements of the story. The characters don't have to be human. They can be a mouse, they can be a cricket, they can be a doll. Then you choose what period of time the story takes place, the genre the story is, whether it's in first or third person in the storytelling, and then male or female, and that's it. And some of the genres are quite interesting. One of the most interesting is fantasy romance. So if you get that one, you're going to have fun writing. So is anybody interested in that, or shall we get started on other things? Okay, real quick, the ballots are in, and we have 20 votes for the Canaan Buffet and 4 votes for the art supply. So I'll see you next month in Canaan Buffet. I will stop on my way out of town.
It's out at North Point. You know, you go off Division to the Y, you go right at the Y.
There's a Ross there now. It used to be a Kmart.
Shopco used to be.
So, and then there's a Big Lots right on the other side of it.
Oh, yes, yes. I love Big Lots.
Or Canaan.
Canaan. All right.
It's like Chinese
Who
food.
wants to go first?
Me.
No.
Oh, no. Me.
She had her hand up first. And she also has more gray hair than you, so she gets to go first.
You see
no, it's privilege.
Applebee's is right on the
Okay, is this worse?
Newport Highway. It's just due south of
Am I supposed to tell
Applebee's,
what I drew?
right across the park.
It would help.
If you, yeah,
Okay.
if you got pictures. Oh, what, okay.
Oh, yeah. The
What-
paper.
My first, my
Yeah,
choices,
go ahead,
okay.
tell what you're.
Your choice, I chose first person, present, action, adventure, female, 20 to 23. Okay. Not used to this, is it? Hi, my name is Artist. I'm an Arctic bug, a beetle actually. Over there grazing grass and wildflowers is my friend Shaglin. She's very pretty with wide set eyes, a long shaggy coat of thick black, brown, and gray hair, and short stout legs and hooves that are perfect for digging through the snow and ice to reach food during the long winter months. She's small for a musk ox, a little under 4 feet tall and weighing only 400 pounds. Unlike the males of her herd, she has a light-colored patch of hair between her long curved horns on either side of her head. Like me, we're both 20. Me 20 months and her 20 years. Both our species are Ice Age survivors and used to harsh conditions in this Arctic treeless tundra. Today, as usual, the ground is frozen, but the sun is shining. I feel good as I crawl over to where Shaglin is still eating. Flutter my wings and fly up to the top of her head. Her small furry ears flicker a little, telling me she knows I'm there. Looking around the valley, I see wildflowers, a small stream, a white Arctic hare, and a few birds. It's so soft, or after a while I get bored and crawl down to the thick, soft hair of her back. It's so soft, and when it sheds in the spring, Humans often gather it, eventually to make clothes and other items. I yawn and soon fall fast asleep. Suddenly, a short time later, I'm awakened when I feel movement and hear hooves hitting the frozen ground. And I know at once the whole herd is on the move, running faster and faster. I crawl out of my soft nest to Shaglin's top layer of long shaggy hair to see what's going on. I almost fall off, but manage to grab on, holding tight to several hairs with my 6 feet. Looking around, I gasp when I see a pack of wolves running at full speed right at us. I start shaking all over, for I remember that wolves like to eat beetles as well as musk oxen. Run faster, I yell to Shaglin, and I hang on even tighter, for I don't want to fall off as the herd races to higher ground. Looking back, I spot the leader of the pack. He's huge, long-legged, and mostly white with a little gray on his ears. And to my horror, I see that he is heading towards Shaglin. Just as he is ready to lunge at her, the herd quickly turns, forming a circle with their rumps together and their large heads and sharp horns facing outwards. With their calves safely inside the circle, the adults are ready to do battle. The wolves stop running. They growl and snarl, baring their long fangs, and slowly walk around the herd, searching for a weak spot. When they come a little too close, one of the musk oxen rush out, threatening them with its sharp pointed horns, forcing the wolves to retreat. One after another, the musk oxen take their turns rushing at the wolves, pushing them back again and again. I am excited and I hang on tight when it's Shaglin's turn to rush at the wolves. She does a good job and I'm proud of her. At last, the frustrated wolves give up and run off across the tundra and eventually out of sight. Oh, that was so close, I shout happily. Shaglin flickers her ears and then slowly joins the other musk oxen as they walk away from the circle and down to the valley to graze and rest once more. Ah, all is peaceful and right in our world again, I sigh. Then I flutter my wings and fly off of Shaglin's back to go find some food of my own to eat. And that's in my story. And yes, wolves do eat beetles, by the way. I was shocked at that. I forgot to bring my folder up. Bob, could you? I wanted to pass around a couple pictures. Okay, the first one is like what I imagine Shaglin to look at. And she's very beautiful, as you can see. And then the other picture is what a male looks like. Notice their horns. Okay. And that's it.
Yay.
Now, is this short story going in a book?
Oh, I don't know. I just...
Okay. That's one thing about these short stories. They don't have to stay short stories. They can become books. I have one short story that's going in my book of short stories that is going to become a book. There's just way too much content once I got started with it to leave it short. So, okay, which one of you guys wants to? Okay. Can you even get out?
Can you? Yeah. Maybe. I'm doing it. One last. Yay!
I got female 20 to like 23, passed, and choice of person, I did first person, and like sci-fi fantasy. So, this is called My Unusual Life. Hello there, my name is Catherine, and I am here to tell my story in hope that I may find answers to my life one day. My family and I live in a beautiful 3-story Victorian home in 1936. I've been married to my husband Amos for as long as I can remember. As a matter of fact, I can't remember life before him or my 3 children. I have a daughter, Heidi, who's 11, my son Colin, who's 8, and baby Alice. For the most part, my life is pretty dull, pretty unmemorable. But every now and then, things will get quite interesting. When the very large girl shows up, things tend to get a bit shaken up for us. For instance, our furniture will get moved around. Even our rooms will end up getting swapped. For instance, the master room all of a sudden becomes my daughter's room. Or the sitting room becomes the kitchen, and so forth. It tends to get quite confusing. Though it tends to make life more interesting and, dare I say, even fun. My children enjoy it when friends come over or they get to go places with their friends. I enjoy seeing my husband off to work, taking care of baby Alice and cleaning my big beautiful home. The best days are when we're all home together or when we're celebrating a special occasion, such as birthdays, Christmas, etc. The worst days are when the giant boy shows up and our lives take a dark turn. We'll be going along with our day when a frightening military man will come and start knocking us around and then takes us to a dark place. We have no idea where we are. And then sometime later, we'll wake up back in our home. We've also been attacked by Indians, shot by robbers, and even hit by a cannon from a tank. Each time I look to my husband Amos for help, but he is usually the first to fall victim to these harrowing attacks. During them, the giant girl will yell at the giant boy, "Stop it, you're not playing right." Then she would yell, "Mama, he's playing with my dollhouse again." I'm not sure what a dollhouse is, but that would put an end to the terrible attacks, at least for a while. I got the inspiration from our dollhouse and our cousins, her kids.
Is that going to
What's that?
expand into the book?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, let us know if it does.
Okay.
We've got time for one more before we take a break. Oh, come on up.
It's short. It's a short story.
No, they're all supposed to be short.
Hi. My assignment, which I picked myself, was horrible. Male, 12 to 15 years old, who lives in past, present, and future. And it's a action adventure, and it's the third person. So, Tucker's Tune, a dog's dream of stardom. Tucker, a mixed breed of Akita and Border Collie, was a dog with dreams. His past was a story of sadness, where his mind rarely dwelled upon. It was too painful to relive beatings, occasional starvation, and the feeling of abandonment. Luckily, he was adopted from a shelter by Kevin, a kind-hearted graduate student at the University of Washington, majoring in computer science. Kevin was a bit of a nerd, always buried in books and papers, but he was determined to be the best dad to Tucker, whose new life turned into a story of rescue and redemption. Tucker was 12 and he was a bundle of anxiety. Having been abused before Kevin found him, Tucker would howl and bark when left alone in Kevin's small apartment, disturbing the neighbors. To ease Tucker's anxiety, Kevin set up a video system in their home, allowing him to check on Tucker from school and talk to him through a speaker. Tucker couldn't quite grasp where Kevin's voice was coming from, but it comforted him nonetheless. As 2 years passed, Kevin's life changed. He met Samantha, another graduate student studying music. They fell in love, got married, and moved in together. Every time Samantha played, Tucker would try to stop her, thinking the piano was some kind of monster. It took his mom away from petting him. In Tucker's mind, it was unacceptable. But Samantha was patient and understanding. She started teaching Tucker to sing along when she played, turning their musical sessions into a joyful bonding experience. Tucker's dream one night was vivid. He dreamt of a future career, of a dog singer, performing in Seattle pubs. After each performance, people would shower him with filet mignon, pork bones, and ice cream. He would become famous, make lots of money, and his parents would buy a beautiful ranch where he could run and play freely. Even at 15, he imagined himself young and active, maybe even finding a girlfriend. The dream fueled Tucker's days. He practiced his singing whenever Samantha played the piano, and soon his voice became a sweet accompaniment to her melodies. People passing by their apartment would stop and listen, amazed at Tucker's talent. Samantha and Kevin were proud, seeing Tucker blossom into a confident and happy dog. One day, Samantha suggested recording Tucker's singing and sharing it online. The response was overwhelming. Tucker's videos went viral, attracting attention from local pubs and venues. Before long, Tucker was invited to perform live. His first performance was a hit. The audience loved him, and Tucker relished the attention. After the show, as predicted in his dream, he was showered with treats and affection. His fame grew, and soon Tucker was a regular performer, his name all known across Seattle. With his earnings, Tucker's parents fulfilled his dream. They bought a beautiful ranch where Tucker now runs and plays to his heart's delight. Tucker is living the dream he once saw in his sleep, grateful for the love and support of his family. And who knows, maybe one day Tucker would meet a special someone and his dream would be complete. But for now, he is satisfied, singing his heart out and living his best life with Kevin and Samantha by his side. I forgot to bring the picture of Tucker. Maybe next time.
I have to ask, is that going to be a book?
You know, actually, Tucker was a real dog who passed away at the age of 16 and a half, about 5 years ago. And he was a very special character. He didn't sing and didn't earn any money. Never had a filet mignon. But he did a lot of things, and I once tried to count how many words he knew. And after 160, I just stopped. I wrote a list, and it was 160, and he knew many more, so I just stopped writing down. So I do have a few ideas. Maybe it will be a book, but it will be probably for children.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great children. All right. How many more do we have to read today? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yours is ready?
I mean, it's
It's not quite finished, but Mom told me to raise my hands up.
She needs
Okay,
to read what she has so far.
Let's take a short break. Be back at 3 o'clock. That should be enough time to cycle through the two restrooms that we have here. And we'll get started in again.
Can everybody hear me? Oh. Barely? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Barely.
Use your
Really?
stage,
Okay, can you hear me now?
use your stage voice.
All right, I will. My assignment was, okay, the character is male, age 28 to 30. The time frame is present, writer's first person, and the genre is adventure romance. I did have pictures, but I didn't bring them. Anyway. Okay, I titled this A Diverse Alliance. Hi, Selena. You weren't home when I stopped by last week. Since I'll be in Long Beach for a few months, I'm sending this lengthy note. I do appreciate your help in costuming part of my last show. With your two little boys to look after, I know that took extra time and effort for a couple of weeks. Can you believe we've known each other half our lives already? We were just 15 when we began doing shows, on up through our senior year. We sure got to know each other well after surviving long rehearsals and performances, along with some verbal sparring. And remember double dating at prom? How joyfully we all danced the night away and partied at a friend's house after. We were such close friends. People thought you and I were steadies. I don't know if I ever said how grateful I was for your parents. They came to our plays and were supportive of us both. My mom might have come, but not my stepdad. Performing arts were not of interest to him at all. I remember our first big show in that magnificent Orpheum Theater downtown. You were so excited to get a telegram in your dressing room. You ran to my dressing room to read it, then realized I'd sent it. You blushed and I just grinned. Then we had that long bus ride for 2 tiring days and a night to attend college in California. When my little sister and our mom saw us off, they were so anxious, sending us off to an unknown future, 1,200 miles away. We were excited just to leave home and forge on to new adventures. Our first year was certainly never dull in a performing arts school. Since our last names began with the same letter, we were alphabetically seated by each other in the theater for a pep talk every morning, remember? Classmates assumed we were an item. I know, we considered being a theatrical team after graduation and maybe getting married, like the two once famous Broadway couples had been. We thought it meant security for us both and seemed practical at the time. By end of that year, things changed for me. After summer break, we flew back to California as neither of us wanted to survive a long bus ride again. You weren't aware how conflicted I was. We were now out of dorms and into apartments with roommates. I remember sharing a place with 2 guys, and you and Jenny were only a block away. You were so excited for new classes and the opportunities that lay ahead. I also hoped for successful new ventures, though some hard decisions had to be made. Just 2 weeks into the semester, I knew we had to talk. I won't forget that warm moonlit night as we sat on your balcony. You were so upbeat, looking forward to a stellar year. With a heavy heart, I said it wouldn't work out with us as a team, as I wanted to go my way alone after graduation. In that moment, our world altered. I knew you tried to hold back tears. Though it took a weight off my mind, I still felt like a sorry fool. I doubt if either of us slept much that night. Oh, how tough it was next day when we took our usual seats by each other in the auditorium. We didn't utter a word. I was grateful next morning when you broke the ice by saying something pleasant about the day. I know your whole year was affected by my actions. Jenny told me how sad you were for months, and rehearsals were all that kept you focused. By spring, I was glad we had a chance to do a television play before cameras, which was a very different experience than a live stage performance. Playing a vaudevillian couple in an old comedy drama show was fun, and we still worked well together. And remember our 2 final dance performances? The Western one was very serious. In a staged fight, you were shot, and I carried you down center stage to the music of Big Country. That was so melodramatic. And then during the end of the rigorous can-can number, you gals went down into splits, and all us guys stood behind. You girls were supposed to get up for the curtain call. Remember, you'd injured your leg and whispered, "I can't." I simply lifted you up and held you around your waist so you wouldn't fall. We all took a bow, and the audience wasn't the wiser.
I know I'm rattling on and not sharing anything new. Our memories may differ about certain situations. Guess I'm just reminiscing a bit. You said time had softened things for you. My mom also told me how important you were in my life. I agreed. Though our lives and careers have taken very different turns, you never judged me. I'm grateful for our ongoing friendship. Who knows where we'll be in another 15 years? I'll call you when I get back. I'm in touch with someone who is doing the red shoes for a local fundraiser, and they want us to play the lead roles of the shoemaker and Zany Witch. Should be fun. Here's looking at you, Kim. Your friend always, Brad.
Okay, is that going into a book?
I wasn't going to, but I think it's going to be, well, it has to be altered a bit because that's a mixed bag here. And it might be part of memoirs, yeah.
Oh, okay,
And I did have pictures, which I'll bring in a second.
okay, sounds good. Hugs and kisses, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Do you know what's their names?
So I had female 28 to 30.
Yeah, it comes out, just don't drop it.
Okay. Let's see. I picked future third-person adventures. So this is called Misadventures in Walmart. It was one of those days, the kind you wish you could just stay in bed under the covers. It started with the alarm not going off, making the kids late for school. Then on the way to the post office, she realized she'd forgotten her package and had to go all the way home to get it. On the way back to the post office, her car got a flat tire. So she called the tow truck and had it take her car to the mechanic. That took an extra hour out of her day. Afterwards, she thought that she could make a quick trip to Walmart, then head home so she can get in the bathtub to relax and release the stress. Wrong. As soon as she stepped out of the car, squish. She stepped on a wad of chewing gum. Yuck. After cleaning off what she could, she walked towards the shopping carts, her shoes sticking to the floor with every step, and proceeded to take the cart out of the corral. It was stuck. So she went to the next row of carts, and it was stuck too. Mumbling under her breath, she went to the third row, and aha, it came out. But when she tried to push it, the wheels barely turned. So she went for the next one, but that one kept turning to the right. The next one kept turning to the left. The final one made a loud squeaking sound, but at least it went straight. Finally, she was able to start shopping. She let out a huge sigh and headed around the corner to the bread aisle, and then smack! Her cart ran into another woman's cart. "Watch where you're going," shouted the other woman. She apologized and quickly went around the rude woman. As she walked towards the cereal aisle, she thought, what else can go wrong? She found out. As soon as she went around, someone that was taking up most of the aisle, she was going around, they were taking up the aisles. So she swerved around them and knocked a whole bunch of boxes of cereal, making them all sprawl all over the floor. "Dang it," she exclaimed. Thankfully, the other shopper helped her pick them up. At least she wasn't rude. She decided to look at clothing to calm down. A really pretty sweat outfit caught her eye, so she turned to look at it, but didn't see the clothing rack's bar sticking out, and smack! She hit that bar right in the middle of her forehead. That really knocked her for a loop. She was really caught off guard and was like, what just happened? One of the Walmart employees saw it happen and asked if she was okay. She said she thought so, but the kind employee had her go sit at Subway while she went and got her some ice. She was very grateful for that act of kindness. She decided to continue shopping after gathering herself. She was about done crossing everything off her list. All that was left to get was milk. Then she could put this disastrous trip to the store behind her. It was the final stretch. She couldn't wait to get all of this behind her. She was so eager to get it over with. She didn't get a good enough grip on the handle of the gallon of milk, so it slipped out of her grasp and splash. It went everywhere, all over the floor, inside the fridge, and of course, all over her. She froze. She was shocked. Milk dripped off of her hair, nose, her arms. She had absolutely no idea what to do. So, she started to laugh. She shrugged her shoulders through her arms and said through her laughter, "Of course, why not?" Other shoppers joined in on her laughter, which made her laugh even more. After someone went and got help to clean the mess and give her towels to dry off, she carefully got another gallon, very carefully got another gallon and headed to the checkout stand. Yep, you guessed it, she couldn't find her debit card. Instant panic set in. "No, this can't be happening," she exclaimed out loud. After rummaging through her purse and wallet, she dumped all the contents out on the counter. Not there. She was almost in tears when she remembered that she had placed it in her jacket pocket the last time she used it. Whew! Crisis averted. Groceries paid for, she hurried out to the parking lot and went down the aisle she thought she had parked in, but she didn't see her car. "Are you kidding me?" she yelled. She frantically searched, thinking it had to have been stolen. Just as she was about to call 911, she spotted it a few aisles down. What a relief. With the groceries loaded, she proceeded to back up, but had to step on the brakes because 3 other cars were also backing up. They all stopped, paused, waiting to see who was going to be the first one to continue. They all started to go again, then they all had to stop. Then a bunch of people came out pushing their carts. Good grief, she thought, I just want to get home. Finally, they all left one by one, so she backed out and crashed. She bolted up in the bed to the sound of her alarm clock. What the? It was all a dream? None of that happened? Maybe she'll do her shopping another day, just to be safe.
Okay, that sounds like personal experience.
Yes, a lot of it. Not the milk part, but almost. The shopping cart, definitely.
Who else? Oh, yes, you have the most interesting
Yes,
of
Lily.
all
The
the genres.
94-year-old romance.
You can do it.
Had to sign up months of months.
Anyway, go for it.
Alright.
Tell us what you got.
I'll have to double check my prompts. Oh, there we go. Well, I got my prompts where it was a male, 90 to 100 years old, fantasy romance in the present. And sorry. Yeah.
There's a few people here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, turn it on.
First person that I could.
For my prompts, I got a 90 to 100-year-old male in the present fantasy romance. And I've sort of only got the beginning because I accidentally wrote too much.
First or third person?
Oh, third person. Sorry. And I've got most of it on the phone. It's called, I'm gonna need another cup of coffee. In an unassuming and what is thought to be a peaceful part of Montana, since before the 60s, there lives a 90-year-old bachelor by the name of James O'Donnell and his 2-year-old chocolate Labrador named Bleep Herbert. The bleep in Bleep's name did not actually stand for anything really, but James got him as a pup. He just loved to watch the neighbors' reactions when he called Bleep Herbert to come inside for dinner. "Here, Bleep, time for food. Come here, you little Bleep Herbert." And though James had been calling his dog that for 2 years now, they were still not used to it. James enjoyed calling. Wait, what? Sorry. I had a typo. James enjoyed and was greatly entertained by looking at the astonished face of his lady neighbor, who was rather new in town, whenever he called Boy, interrupting the serene and quiet nature of the neighborhood. James hated boredom, and currently was making a hobby of trying to stay young, and might I add that he was succeeding quite well. And poor Bleep would just have to try and keep up with him. At the young age of 90, Love had still not found James yet, possibly having taken a wrong turn at Doohickey Lane, and then happening upon a garage sale, or alas, one of the dreaded neon signs left from a yard sale that was months, if not years ago, sending Love on a wild goose chase. James did not mind being single that much, especially after hearing horror stories of either wives or girlfriends defiling a man's sacred cup by wiping all the grime that could have been built up for years, destroying all the hard work and flavor that man had put into the cup. Besides, James had a dog to keep him company. On one morning, when James had finished drinking his third cup of coffee, he heard bleeping, that is, barking out the living room window. James did not usually like visitors, at least nowadays. But when he saw who she was, he liked her even less. The person at the door was his 78-year-old kid sister, Mabel, who had been calling to nag him for months now. The calls were long and boring, interrupting his latest book binge of the Patrick F. McManus humor books, and causing Bleep to go bonkers at the talking device that was getting more attention than he was. James had only recently started ignoring the calls, exasperated by the determination of his little sister and her ideas on things. And there she was at his house, waiting outside the front door for him to open it. James sighed as he unlatched the door and let her in, greeting her with the words, "Coffee's in the kitchen." Mabel smiled the whole time. And she walked to the kitchen, and as she came back, you could see the mischievous twinkle in her eye that marked that her and James were siblings, and in some cases partners in crime. Alas, the reason Mabel was there was not for coffee. Mabel had schemed and planned exactly what to say to her curmudgeon brother, and she started out with what she had been telling him for months now. "James, it's time for once in your life. Can't you do something normal?" The end of the question went up in pitch. She was nearly gagging with suppressed laughter, which finally came out in the form of a victorious cackle, a mix between Maleficent and a dying chihuahua. Then she said the fatal words, "I signed you up for a senior citizens book club." That I am. Finished with her finale, she had one last bout of rather girlish giggles, at least as girlish as a 78-year-old woman can giggle. James pretended to turn off his hearing aids, but everyone who knew him knew that he never actually wore the ones that he had, let alone at 10:30 in the morning. James scowled, and his sister refilled his cup of coffee with an open. Maybelle stayed for the rest of the early morning to late afternoon, still relishing the very thought of her big brother finally admitting to the title senior citizen. Next Wednesday was the day the book club would be starting, and Maybelle decided she would make sure James got there by giving him a ride. On Wednesday, she had to practically drag him out of the door by his toenails. James is what you would call an ambivert, but the older he got, the less he liked to talk to what his sister called normal, average people. James liked weird people. Fortunately, and quite surprisingly for James, the book club was full of some of the least normal people James would meet for a while. These were his favorite type of people, elite oddballs of bookwormhood. The first day of the book club was exciting. That's all I've got so far. But I've got ideas for it.
That's good. I'll be able to hear you what you're doing. So I don't know what it is. Some people's voices. Usually higher voices, I can hear them.
Now we got the setup.
Yeah, every good author leaves the audience hanging. So is there anybody else, oh, okay.
But I'm not sure I can follow.
Well, you know,
Yes, you can.
it's a well-worn path up here, I think you can do it.
I just need your read. It's wonderful.
I'll start with the person.
Excuse me.
This is complete, it's a little long, so cut me off when my time's up.
Okay.
Time's up.
Tough crowd. Mine is an action romance, character male, age 10 to 13. My slip did not say years. Time frame passed in the first person. Title of the story is The Hinden Club. Chapter 1, The Edge of Great Wood. After a brief flight, I joined a small swarm of soldiers gathering at the western edge of the Great Wood. My sudden arrival at the exercise grounds caught their attention and they began to grouse. Why send us here? Enten asked. The sky is beautiful, and we lose time from protecting the farmer ants while they gather the pieces of leaves. The colony needs those leaves to survive. Other ants echoed her gravely. Yes, Alfie, why every day? Enten called out again. Why march to this bleached stretch of sand? We abandoned it long ago. She arched her mandible high, clicking it together 7 times. She is older than the others. Stepping up on a smooth, protruding rock at the center of the exercise area, I loomed several ant heights over the soldiers. Why? Don't you remember the stories? My 6 legs spun around, allowing my dark compound eyes to sweep the entire swarm. Our colony left the great field after the attack. 32 moon cycles ago, our mortal enemies caught us unprepared. They killed many of our ancestors. I spread my mandible and shook my head. Never again. To stress my point, I fluttered my wings. Most of you can only claim a few cycles of the moon. I first witnessed the brightness of the round moon 11 cycles ago, and hope to see another 11, maybe 12. In response to Enten, I raised my head and clicked my mandible together 11 times in rapid succession. You must prepare, you must practice, you must protect our queen. Enten spoke again. Why fear the Reds? Am I not bigger than them? And what does a drone like you know about fighting? For the first time, I noticed her larger than normal soldier body. I credited this to her age. Until this new assignment, I never associated with females. Looking into the eyes of the gathered soldiers, I gestured to Infant. Yes, Infant is bigger than a red, but unaware. Reds move with a wild fury unlike anything imaginable. I spun around. Remember the stories. They circle and attack you in numbers. They bite off your legs. And voices murmur. Once limited movement, they bite you in half. They bite off your head. Gasps filled the swarm. They take your body parts back to feed their larvae. More gasps. One ant collapsed. Infant stood motionless, her eyes following my movement. Stepping down from the rock, she moved to face me. Lowering her mandible, she bumped my head. For some reason, my wings fluttered. I lost my place. She acknowledged, for 6 black legs and survival. With a shake to clear my head, I launched into the air and began searching the area. Seeing no signs of danger, I landed on a tree branch and watched. Infants scrambled up on the rock and bellowed, "Begin!" Take turns surrounding one another and practice your attack. They surrounded, practice defense. After their exercises concluded, the soldier ants marched single file back to the nest and took up their duties protecting the workers, our queen, and her eggs. Chapter 2, The Darks of Their Eyes. 2 days later, the morning broke with a red sky. From a distance, I watched Infant lead a swarm of 100 soldiers to the exercise field. None of the rookies claimed over 4 moons. A slight breeze followed them. They grew. The attack occurred after they began to exercise, not from the field. The Reds entered the great wood on both sides, merged, and attacked from the forest, from the direction of safety. From my perch in the tree, I saw Infant scurry to the top of the rock. She called the alarm and ordered her soldiers to take position. They faced their enemy and steadied themselves for a battle. Reds began a horrific attack, 5 or 6 of them surrounding any outlier soldier and removing her head. For every Red removed from the fight, 3 black soldiers fell. Outnumbered 6 to 1, Infant realized the futility of a mandible-to-mandible fight. She shouted orders, "Retreat, follow me." She tried to rally her swarm, hoping to escape into the great field through its tall grasses. As she turned, thousands of Reds poured out of the grass, and I realized the name of the exercise field needed to be changed to a killing ground. I heard Infant bellow, "Save the nest, take as many red heads as possible, fight to save the queen." She stepped off the rock and began tearing into the enemy. One by one, her young soldiers fell to overwhelming odds. Backing into her former position on the rock, her mandible chattered and clicked like a maniac. Death to all Reds. After seeing her decapitate a dozen of their fellow comrades, the Reds hesitated. Regaining their courage, they hoped to intimidate their black enemy. They circled and closed. Infant stood firm and began stomping her feet in a 6-legged pattern called the death dance. Ignoring her threats, 3 Reds started to sneak up from behind her, 2 of them pressing the first one. Seeing their brave comrade, the Red Army began to surge forward. As the Red behind Infant maneuvered to clip her back leg, it noticed my shadow and looked up. I swooped down and removed its head. Its body parts rolled into the other 2 Reds. They tumbled. For the moment, all Red ants hesitated while analyzing their new threat. I fluttered up and grabbed Infant with my 6 legs and carried her aloft. Many Reds screamed some guttural language. Ignoring their savage words, I raised my rear and pooped. Pulling the splatters of my descending scent soiled several of them, enough for them to kill each other in their bloodthirsty confusion. "Let me go, take me back," Infant roared. "If I must die, I wish to die with my swarm." Pulled tight into my thorax, I felt a quiver from her back as she struggled to get loose. I shook her with my legs. "Infant, die if you must, but only while protecting your nest and your queen, not those last few soldiers remaining in the field." As I flew her into the wood, water gushed from the skies. Other drones noticed my returning flight. After I explained what happened, they flew around passing the words. The Reds attacked. The Reds attacked. I settled on a short rise above our nest. Infant, you fought the Reds. You saw how they fight. Any other black ant who ever fought a Red is dozens of moons gone. We only know stories. Some call them myths. Teach the soldiers. Prepare them. Once again, she lowered her mandible and bumped my head. I began an uncontrolled flutter. With our heads together, I felt her body quiver again. You honor me, Alfie. No other drone has ever done this. No other drone ever moved me like this. Chapter 3, all quiet on the western front. At first light, Infinite exited the nest and called the nearest ant. Gather our soldiers, we must prepare. A scurry ensued. Before long, soldier ants covered the entire area around the nest. I watched it from an overhanging branch. Infant approached one soldier. They lowered the mandibles and bumped heads. She turned to another soldier and repeated the action as the first ant did the same. One head bump after another continued. From my elevated perch, the movement of head bumps acted like a ripple in a pond, expanding until every soldier ant bumped another. Every soldier now understood how to fight a red. Infant called out to the amassed army, "Death to the Reds, long live the Queen." She clicked her mandible 7 times. She is amazing. I lifted from my branch and hurried to the western edge of the wood. The army swarmed as one to the killing grounds. They marched with stealth, no battle cries, no clicking mandibles. They marched in 7 columns, 7 soldiers abreast. They marched until the field came into view and then scurried into the trees and bushes and shrubs and tufts of grass and weeds until the entire army vanished. Only an occasional drone flying from one branch to another gave evidence of movement beyond the breeze teasing the tall grasses. Only the fluttering of their wings breached the silence. Infant moved out into the killing grounds and mounted the talking rock and clicked her mandible. 6 soldiers moved from behind a small log and positioned themselves before her. She scooted down to meet them and started to march towards the great field at the end of the world. 3 soldiers moved to either side, marching in line. They approached the tall grass and hunted its maze of tufts and poles. The second ant on her left side screamed as the lead soldier lost her head between one blade of grass and the next. "Ambush!" Infant shouted. "Back to the wood!" The remaining 6 soldiers turned to scurry back to our awaiting army. The former lead soldier on the right, now last in line, lost one leg and another. Then she lost her head. I watched Infant clear the grass and rush to the talking rock. She turned to discover only 3 of her brave soldiers remained. "To the wood!" She raised her head to see me perched on my usual shrub. "Now!" As Infant darted into the wood, the Red Army poured through the grass. A dozen drones took flight from various locations and called from above. "Attack!" Our army flooded from the trees and a melee of clashing mandibles ensued. Suddenly, all fighting stopped when a loud crack of thunder that tried to deafen our hearing. Then another. The ground shook. I looked up to see only a few white clouds in the blue sky. I flew down next to Infant, perched on a log to survey and direct the battle. Her 6 legs stomped the death dance. I nudged her. "What is happening?" From our left, a giant creature with 2 gray legs stomped through the stunned armies. In its wake, many of our brave soldiers lay smushed, and hundreds of Reds with them. The talking rock protruded from the bottom of a huge depression. "How does a creature move on 2 legs?" I asked. Infant shook her head. Still startled by what happened, another giant rushed by. Then several others followed. Each of them left smushed red ants, flattened grass, and large depressions in the earth. Some of the giants used their 2 upper appendages for carrying long sticks. They lifted them high in the air. Another loud crack of thunder struck. Smoke belched from the stick. I turned to Infant. "We must leave this field. Let the giants kill our enemy." Several distant thunder cracks broke our thoughts. Something whizzed by and struck the tree above us with a whack. I flew up to investigate and landed in an indentation in the bark. Venturing in, I found a smooth black object at the back. It stunk. Moving back to the entrance, I looked beyond the killing fields. From this height, I observed giants on both sides of the great field, but thunder sticks. They charged each other. Blue legs stomped a 2-legged death dance with gray legs. In every dance, one or the other fell. I fluttered down to Infant. I went higher into the tree than ever before. I discovered something amazing. What? The great field is not the end of the world. There is another wood on the other side. Chapter 4. Shaken, not stirred. I flew above the army as they marched back to our nest. With so few soldiers lost, their mandibles click-clacked with triumph. The rhythm of victory preceded us, and the entire nest waited for our arrival with excitement. I landed next to Infant as she approached the nest entrance. Several worker ants moved forward to meet us. The queen wishes to see you. I clicked to Infant. Go! I'm sure she wants to congratulate you on your victory. She shook her head. You know very well the victory falls at the feet of the two-legged giants. Still, I wriggled my mandible. 4 other workers rushed to my side. You too, groaned. Me? Their mandibles clicked. I counted 11 clicks. I've never seen the queen before. I don't know what to say. Infant stomped a foot and wriggled her abdomen again. I heard a slight quiver. You said nothing. Let me talk. The workers led us into the nest. Others followed, and many stayed by my side. As we moved, they fought frightfully. My wings fluttered. What if she wants to eat me or feed me to her larvae? Infant stopped and turned. What part of say nothing confused you? I clicked a nervous clack. Deep into the nest we trekked. I know my life began deep down during my pupae stage, but the memory of those days is lost. I fluttered. Infant noticed and quivered a humorous giggle. Your confusion is normal. Only the queen's worker attendants know how to find her. Scents in these tunnels confuse everyone else. It is for her safety and the safety of her eggs. You don't seem confused. She clacked her mandible. I know. We entered another chamber and my thorax jumped. A voice unknown to me spoke. Hello, daughter. I looked at the queen and back to Infant. Infant bowed her head. Hello, mother, my queen. Why is this drone here? Is he for lunch? She gurgled. Rumble. Infant raised her head and moved it to the side. No, mother. I desire him for my first mate. The queen clacked her massive jaws. Several of her ants moved forward. So, you intend to take my place? Confused, I tried to understand. Infant is the queen's daughter. Only a princess takes the first mate. Princesses fly. In my sensory confusion, I lost control and my wings fluttered. Dozens of workers surrounded me, displaying no intention of letting me get closer to the queen. No, mother. I intend to leave your nest and extend the colony to a new location. Bah! She shook her head. I know when your older sister maimed you as a child by clipping one of your wings. Her jealous actions warranted a death sentence. To kill my own daughter? No. She shook her head. Banishment became her punishment. I removed your second wing to keep you balanced and functional. The queen gazed at her daughter. Founding a new colony is difficult without wings. Alfie, my drone has wings. Your drone has a name? Oh my, this is serious. The queen tipped her head and her jaws clacked again. Is there any way to convince you this is nonsense? No, mother. Then hear my words. Take your drone and 6 others, giving you 7. Take 49 of the outer nest workers, 147 soldiers, and 77 farmers. No more, no less. Travel west across the great field. I flinched. The queen's head turned. Yes, drone, I know it's not the end of the world. I ventured across the great field after leaving my mother's nest many moon cycles ago. She sighed. My first mate and I established a nest there. She considered me again. Thank you for your part in vanquishing the red devils. I raised my head and my mandible began to open. Do not speak. The words echoed through the chamber. My sensory confusion manifested itself, and I wondered if the echo came from the queen or Infant. No matter, I kept my mouth shut and lowered my head. Daughter. Infant turned from scowling at me back to her mother. So her voice kept me silent. Go into the greater wood on the far side of the grassy field. Travel until you find a stream. You must find a way across. Continue until the ground gets moist. Look for the great tree. It's the largest tree in the world and has roots rising into the sky and branches blocking the light from above. Beneath one of those roots is your destination. During your journey, food is available on the dark side of trees and logs. Make use of the sustenance. The queen's mandible quivered. Ask to see the great queen, my mother. Call her the Hindenburg. She has great knowledge. Her insight is your only hope. Infant quivered. The Hindenburg? Yes. Now come bump heads with me.
Okay. Next week,